What's going on, everybody? The Tello podcast is back. Sorry for a little bit of a delay. Took about a 10, 11 day little hiatus there. Um, it's a little busy with everything going on right now in life, with college and everything. But we're back. I've got two of my friends here today. I got my friend Cameron, who was on the first episode. Cameron, introduce yourself a little bit again. Just give them a quick refresher if they didn't remember from the first one.
Uh, I'm Cameron. Played baseball at Meridian High all 4 years. Met Bryce in high school, and then we kind of we did a podcast. He went out to college, and now I guess I'm back because he wants to talk some football. So we're gonna see how that goes today.
Some
Yeah.
college football.
Some college football.
And then we got a new
Yeah.
guest on today. We've had two guests so far on the show. We've had Cameron and then my friend, or one of our friends, Dylan. Today we've got another
Sherlock?
guest. His name is Michael. Michael, would you like to introduce yourself a little bit?
Hello, it is me. I don't live in Idaho, but I'm a good friend of Cameron and Bryce, and Bryce decided to invite me on today. So yeah, pretty much
That
it.
is true. That is true.
Yep.
Well,
Michael's
you
from
can introduce
Illinois.
yourself, Michael. He
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
He's from Illinois.
State of
Today,
Wheat
as you heard
corn.
Michael earlier, just a little bit, he said we're going to be talking college football after Cameron said we're talking football. Specifically, I would say we're talking top 25.
We
Recently, there's been a lot of great, big, huge things going on in the college football world. A lot of upsets, a lot of ranked versus ranked teams playing each other, and I thought it was just smart to get hopping on and talk about it. I've missed 2 weeks, so I think this is kind of to hopefully make up for it, coming on and talk about week 3. Cameron, were you about to say something? I think I kind of cut you off there.
no, you said what I was gonna say, so you're good.
Right. Well, to basically run it down before we get started, I asked Cameron and Michael to send me their top 25s, what they think is their top 25, and we made a little point system. The number one team gets 25 points, second gets 24, third 23, all the way down to 25, who gets 1 point in their rankings. I combined our three rankings together point wise, and then I ranked them to the points. Another thing I also did is I put a poll out. Got a couple of things. I'd like to shout out EBC Media for putting his up there, helping me with that. I'll get to the community vote thing with our vote as well. And then RBC Sports, I'd like to shout him out as well. They're two of those two. They put out their list out there, and I really appreciate that. Helping the cause, helping me get some more data for this. But we're gonna start off with just our three lists. And just get it going. We're gonna name some honorable mentions real quick. Honorable mentions that were in all from our list: Appalachian State with a point ranking of 3, and then Miami also had 3. I know for a fact that you guys both ranked Miami, I believe.
Yeah,
But
Yeah,
I
me
did
and
not.
Miami at 25.
And I'll say why I didn't rank them, and they can rebuttal what they think. And I didn't rank Miami because although they were, I believe, they were pretty high up there. 13 this last week, they lost to Texas A&M, and they just didn't look impressive at all. I mean, they scored 9 points, which is they only had the 3 field goals. Their offense just couldn't get it done down on the positive side of the field, and I mean, their defense did a completely fine job, only giving up 17 points to A&M. Just when Van Dyke's only having 217 yards and throwing hardly over 50%, that's just something you don't want to see as Miami. And Mario Cristobal, I'm guessing he's probably gonna have a little bit of a tough practice for him. Get him in shape, because I believe they are. Yeah, okay. They got Middle Tennessee next week, which could be easy, could be bad. I know that the AP poll, I believe, has them at 25. But you guys anything about why you put them in your rankings still, and just a little bit of talk about that?
Yeah. So one thing
I
that
mean,
I have to say is, go ahead, Cameron. Your turn.
no, you're good. You're good. Tyler Van Dyke throwing barely over 50% obviously is not a thing that you want to see if you're a Miami fan. Um, However, something to kind of look up. Henry Parrish averaging 5.3 carries for 85 yards, something that Miami fans are happy to see. And I mean, you lose to Texas A&M, tough game. So what? You lost on the road to Texas A&M, which was definitely a more hostile environment. I think I believe they're at home next week. I don't know who they play. I don't know.
They play
Somebody can
Middle
tell me.
Tennessee. I said.
Okay, and that's next week, right? Or at home.
Yes, that is the
Yeah,
next their next
they're
game.
home.
Yeah, and I think they bounce back next week. They get a win at home, and then that they're obviously going to climb back up the rankings. I think that they're definitely a contender for the SEC or the SEC for the ACC.
Okay. You know what? That's actually pretty reasonable. The whole 5.3 yard per carry thing you were talking about. That's amazing to see from a running back. And I'm rooting for Miami. I like Mario Cristobal as a head coach. And obviously, like the U and just all of their swagger back in the '90s. It's just they're always a fun team to watch, and I love keeping up with them and seeing how they're doing. And then the other team we had that was in the honorable mention area was Appalachian State. I believe I was the only one that ranked Appalachian State. I actually put them at 23, ahead of A&M that I put at 24. And
Really?
one of two reasons. One,
Yeah.
they beat A&M 17-14 at College Station, uh, 2 weeks ago, and although they did have to win by a Hail Mary to Troy, I still think this team is a lot better than they showed. I mean, their quarterback had 278 and 2 touchdowns, Chase Bryce. And their running back 17 carries, 84 yards. I definitely thought that they could have done better last week. I still think that the fact that they're 2-1 with a solidifying win against Texas A&M, excuse me, and a 40-point fourth quarter against North Carolina despite the loss, that's just shows impressiveness. And that's why I put them at 23 in my ranking. And that is why they are in the honorable mention other receiving votes section for our top 25.
And
Anyways,
really
heading on to our
quickly,
top
I'm
25.
gonna go back.
Oh, sorry, what you
Go
saying?
back to Miami really quick. So one thing about Miami that I really see is the reason why I have them ranked in the first place is because they may be 25, but the game against Texas A&M, they barely lost. Like they
One
lost by
possession, yeah.
what? Like yeah,
A one possession
exactly.
game.
And in the two other games, they beat BCU 70-13. The first game of the season, like that's pretty impressive. And then against Southern Mississippi, they won 30-7. That was the
Okay.
game against Texas A&M was the closest game, and it makes sense because Texas A&M is ranked higher, and it was that close of a game.
Okay. I can understand that. Definitely makes sense. Them kind of just dominating most of their games and then having a close one against a pretty good team. I mean, Texas A&M, you can't diss on them. They're a good team. But if you guys are ready to move on to our official top 25, we can move on.
Yeah, I'm
Yep.
ready.
All right. Okay. So our in our 25th spot with actually tied for 24th. Excuse me. Uh, is Michigan State with 4 points and Pitt with 4 points. I believe Michael, you were the only one that ranked Michigan State. You ranked them at 22. After the
Yeah.
loss against Washington, obviously, in my opinion, I didn't rank them. I didn't think the way they played against Washington was top 25 worthy. Obviously, they're still a good program. I mean, I love their coach. Do you have anything to say? Reason why you put them at 22?
Just because, like, Michigan State, I mean, in the past years, they've been something that I would say special. I mean, they've always been pretty good. I mean, Michigan State, they're not like top tier team. I don't see them winning, but I have them in my top 25 because I see them as a team I see them getting far. again, bringing up the past 2 games, they pretty much dominated in the other 2 games, 35 to 13 against Western, and then they completely wiped Akron, 52-0. And then this game was again a close game. They lost by 9 points. They lost by 11.
Yeah.
I don't think that it's fair to really call the Washington Michigan State game fair. I mean, yeah, Michigan State scores 14 points in the fourth quarter, and all of a sudden you're looking at an 11-point loss. But I mean, the 14 points were kind of garbage time touchdowns that Michigan
They
State
were.
put up.
Yeah.
I mean, you're down 39-14. I mean, yeah, they were losing by 25 with about,
Until
I
under
think it was
7 minutes left. Yeah.
exactly, 7 minutes left in the game. You're down by 25. Just a sloppy game from Michigan. No running back presence at all. No quarterback. I mean, it was just overall in all just
Yeah.
not a good game. Michigan
Yeah.
State definitely not their best work. I won't lie.
Yeah. The 13 carries, 27 yards by Jalen Berger kind of shows that gap and that missing Kenneth Walker. Because Kenneth
Exactly.
Walker obviously was Heisman caliber running back in my opinion last year. Most people thought so too, and not having that guy that can get you 5 yards of carry anymore is detrimental to an offense. Like that does a lot. And obviously they still have the same quarterback. I mean, their quarterback didn't do too awful. 30 for 42, 3 touchdowns, 323, but did throw a pick. As you were saying, a lot of garbage. They had 2 garbage time touchdowns in the fourth quarter, less than 7 minutes left. That's just not a top 25 team, especially with the way that Washington was unranked before that. Would I say they were an unranked caliber team? Obviously not. Now that they are ranked, but I just didn't see them as a ranked team. And then the other team that in 24th is Pitt. I know me and Michael and I, sorry, we ranked Pitt at 25. Cameron, you ranked them at 24. So we all kind of had that same consensus that Pitt is a ranked team, but they're on that boundary. I mean, obviously they did have the loss to Tennessee the week before, and I do not remember who they played. I don't even know if they played. Did they play?
I believe so. Look. Yeah, no, they played Western Michigan, kind of like a DL game.
They played Western Michigan. Okay.
Yeah, kind of just another one where they kind of just dominated throughout the entire final score 34-13. I mean, Western Michigan was down by more than it looks like 10 points at all points of this game. Or 7 points, sorry. I mean, so it looked like it was a one-score game leading up into the fourth quarter where Pitt scores 2 touchdowns and kind of seals it there.
Yeah.
Nate Yarno, or I don't know how to pronounce that last name. I might have done that wrong. 9 for 12, 179 yards, a touchdown. I mean, 9 for 12, that's 75%. You can really ask for more from your quarterback, averaging 15. I mean, most of where Pitt kind of dominates, so is in the run game. Israel, Abanakin. Oh God, I can't pronounce that one. Abanakin, Abaniconda, Abaniconda is what I'm gonna say that is. 4.3, 4.3 per 31 carries, 133 yards. I mean,
Okay.
Pitt is kind of what Michigan State was last year, and I think that's why I have Pitt obviously over Michigan State.
I wouldn't say Pitt's what Michigan State was last year, as Michigan State was 11-1, with their only loss to Oklahoma State. I mean, not Oklahoma State, Ohio State. And I would say Pitt's the same team as they were last year. Obviously, without the presence of Jordan Addison, now he's at USC, and without the presence of Kenny Pickett, who was a Heisman finalist last year. They're definitely not going to be as good as they were, but they definitely still are a top 25 team. And I agree with you. They're definitely a better team than Michigan State. And that's why they're on both of our lists and Michigan State's not. Yeah. So you guys ready to move on again?
Yeah.
Coming at number 23, we've got Texas A&M. It's kind of fun, kind of weird to see a team, only move up one in our spot in our rankings, and I believe in the official rankings as well. Only moving up one after
A&M
beating
is 23rd.
because they were I believe they were 24 last week. They are 23 now in the official rankings. We have them at 23 combined with ours. Michael, I noticed you didn't even rank them. Is there an explanation behind that?
It's just Texas and A&M. I mean, I don't know, superior much about college football, but I mean, from what I've seen so far, it's just I don't see it as too impressive. I mean, every game that they've played, I'm pretty sure, besides one game where they
Which was
swept
against
31-0, that every game was a one possession game, pretty much.
Fair. Yeah, I could see that. And I mean, obviously, when you go in with Coach Station, which is one of the most hostile environments for an opponent to play in, and A&M kind of be in close games in their home stadium, that kind of makes you worry, especially for next week when they play 10th ranked Arkansas in College Station. If they couldn't even pull out the win against Appalachian and they could hardly pull it out against Miami, are they going to be able to pull it out against Arkansas?
Yeah.
And then 2 weeks later they're going against second ranked Alabama, and I just don't see them doing anything too impressive this season at all.
Okay. And it is in Tuscaloosa.
Yes.
Alabama.
Yeah. I know me and Cam both ranked A&M. Cam, you ranked him at 23. I ranked him at 24.
I mean, A&M just didn't look good. Sorry, I'm trying to find the words. But you had freaking Van Dyke. Van Dyke goes just over 50%, and everybody starts bagging on. Oh wait, hold on, that's the wrong week. I'm trying to look at week 3. All right, so Van Dyke goes. I think he went 52%. Max Johnson went 50%. Max Johnson had 140 yards and like a lone touchdown
on 10 completions.
On 10 completions. He had 20 passing attempts. 50% just not good. The run game, meh. It was just kind of a defensive win for the Aggies, and that's why you only see him move up one spot because, it wasn't really a good football game. Like, as simple as that.
That's why you see, looking at it, Miami. When you look at the Texas A&M Miami game, although we do, Texas A&M came out the win. It's kind of a situation of it's an ugly win because Miami had almost 130 more total yards, 11 more first downs, and 9 more minutes of time of possession. So the ball was definitely in Miami's court, not Texas A&M's. But Texas A&M did still end up coming out with the win. It's not a pretty win. It's kind of one of those wins where it's like, just even though we won, flush it, forget about it. We got to focus on next week. We have a big opponent next week. And that's why I think both me and you kind of kept them in the same area and alongside with the AP poll. That's kind of why they kept them in the same area. It wasn't an ugly win. It wasn't a very promising win.
Yeah, exactly.
That's honestly why I didn't rank them, because I didn't see them doing that well. I saw that they didn't do that good against Miami, and they're 2 ranks below Miami. And with the one possession game, or about that close of a game against a team that it shouldn't have been that close, or it should have been at least a better game for Texas A&M, and they just had a sloppy game. And that's why I really don't see Texas A&M worth the rank.
Okay, I get that. And I don't know if I mentioned, but Texas A&M had a point score of 5, just one over Michigan State and Pitt. Going on to the next one, we got our 22 spot. We got Wake Forest. Wake Forest is the first undefeated team on this list so far, with a record of 3-0. If I look back at our rankings, I believe that. Yeah. So Michael, Cam, you ranked them at 20, and Michael, you ranked them at 23. And then I believe I ranked them at 22nd.
I mean,
I hit right on the dot. Kim, you got anything to say about why you ranked them so much higher than me and Michael?
you know, I Sam Hartman has a pretty good game, 325 yards. Granted, he threw 2 innings, kind of put Liberty back in this game late. I mean,
Fair. Yep.
oh, I mean, the game was kind of led by him of 25. Sam connecting with chance for Keyshawn though. And that's why you kind of see that 20. Sam Hartman having a QBR .3. Just I don't really tell you. I mean, there's something about them that's like in the, like they've got the skills. They got the like Clemson caliber type team, but they're kind of biting themselves in the foot. Sam Hartman definitely throwing tuitions.
That's why you see them going from 19 to 21 in the AP poll. I mean, the only reason they won the game last week is because Liberty went for 2 and it failed. And I mean, it was just back and forth. I mean, they had the 20 they were up 20-5 at one point in the second quarter, right before halftime. But obviously, it was 20-8 at halftime, and they kind of just let Liberty get back in the game in the third quarter, not scoring any points. Liberty going for, I believe, 15 unanswered. Yeah, 15 unanswered, putting them up by 3. And fourth quarter was back and forth. They kind of hardly snuck out with a win there. That's kind of why I ranked them a little lower. Michael, I'm assuming that's probably why you ranked him a little lower as well, just seeing them hardly sneak out a victory against the Liberty team. I mean, Liberty's a tough squad, but I mean, the Liberty's I believe, a Sun Belt Conference team that, I mean, the Sun Belt has gotten better in the past years, but it's still an iffy conference.
Yeah, and I mean, looking at the Wake Forest and Liberty game, I mean, it was pretty close game. But when Liberty in the first quarter, Liberty had 0, and Wake Forest was only able to put up 3 when Liberty had 0. And then in the third quarter, it was flipped. Wake was able to put up no points, but Liberty responded with 15. Like, the point differentiation is just too big there, and they should have been able to stop it. And again, looking at Liberty, their passing was pretty even throughout 3 receivers, like 7 receptions, 124 yards for Douglas, and an average of 17. Like, they were able to pass it to other people instead of just focusing on like one person or 2 people, like Wake Forest.
Yeah, and another thing I could point out about that is the inconsistency in their struggles to kind of start the game off. Heat fire, as you said, they only scored 3 in the first, even though Liberty did score 0. Their defense was there, offense wasn't, and then in the third quarter, it was just nothing was there. They struggled coming out of the locker room in that game and just kind of solidifying and making a point. Kind of why they went down in the rankings despite winning. You all ready? We're going to move on to 21.
Yep.
Number 21, we actually, all 3 of us collectively put this team at 21. We're going to have Texas. And I think Texas deserves to be in 21 for one big reason only. I think it's still quite interesting to look at it when you see it. Texas was unranked the day they played Alabama, and they became ranked right after. That isn't a coincidence. It is a team that has a fight in them. Obviously, a team when you have a guy like Bijan Robinson, who is a Heisman caliber running back, who had a monster game against UTSA, may I say. Hudson Card stepping up, filling the role for Quinn Ewers after Quinn Ewers got absolutely destroyed against Alabama. And I mean, Alabama was the number 1 team in the nation when they played them. They only lost by 1. They almost won that game.
Yep.
It took Alabama a game-winning drive by former Heisman winner Bryce Young, and I feel like the game against Alabama could have possibly been different if they had Quinn Ewers with them still. but it is in the past. Keeping them in the same area where we have them at 21. I don't think ESPN. I mean, AP poll has them at 21 anymore because I think we said Wake Forest is there. Do you guys have anything to say about Texas?
One thing I have to say about Texas is, I mean, the fact that they were unranked going against, at the time, the number one in the nation and losing by 1 point, like, it shows something that they really do have a possible, like, they want to fight. And I mean, between Texas, both of the quarterbacks had a combined over basically just under 300 yards. And like, that's pretty impressive. The Bryce Young had just over 200, so collectively Texas had more yards in both quarterbacks. But losing to Bama by 1 point at when they were an unranked team, it shows potential.
It does. That's true.
Yeah, no, I mean Texas, Bijan is a stud. That dude is the first
He is a stud.
Heisman caliber running back we've seen since Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry.
I mean Hudson
Bryce Love, even though he didn't win one.
Card, Bryce Love ain't a running back. A
Bryce Love
quarterback.
Bryce Love was a running back. Bryce Love was a running back at Stanford.
I thought you said Bryce Young.
No.
No. So yeah. So Bijan Robinson, he's that guy. He is their guy. Hudson Card. You obviously want to see Quinn Ewers, unfortunately, out for the season. But I mean, you lose barely on a last-second field goal to Alabama. You're unranked when you play him at the time. You lose your starting quarterback. You know, your Heisman caliber quarterback in the first quarter. I mean, Texas is good, and they deserve to be ranked where they are. And I think that they're definitely a team that can compete in the Big Ten for, I guess, as long as they're in there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we actually had ours were flipped to the AP poll. We had Texas at 21, Wake Forest at 22, and the AP poll has 21 Wake, 22 Texas. We all kind of covered Texas pretty well, I'd say, on that one. Going on to number 20. Sorry, tied for 19th. We have two teams. Actually, funny thing, we matched these perfectly with the AP poll. The AP poll has BYU at 19, Florida at 20. And that's what our two teams up next are, BYU and Florida, both with 19 points on our point scale, ranked for tied for 19th.
Where are they on the AP?
They are 19 and 20.
BYU's 19?
BYU 19, Florida 20.
Okay.
I think most of us put BYU ahead, except you, Cam. You put BYU behind Florida. I put BYU ahead of Florida, so did Michael. Is there a reason why you put Florida over
Ahead of
BYU?
BYU? Yeah, no, I had BYU at 22 because BYU against Oregon was just all Bo Nix. All Bo Nix. I mean, BYU just didn't look like, the team that we had seen in the first couple of weeks. Lost 41-20. Bo Nix, I mean, 222 yards on 13 catches, 2 touchdowns, a 90 passer rating. You had Marquise Irving, 97 yards on about averaging 7. BYU's defense just wasn't there. And then when they tried to come back here, like in the fourth quarter, it was just already over. A couple garbage time touchdowns. I mean, the score was 41-7 going into the fourth quarter. 38-7 going into the fourth quarter, and it was just
It was a lost cause.
it was lost. That game was lost from the very first play where Bo Nix just Bo Nix just was all over BYU, and that's why I have him so low because you get pooped on that hard by that team. I mean, well, think about it, right? So Oregon played Georgia early in the season. I believe Oregon was ranked 11th. Georgia was ranked, first. And Oregon loses that game in the same fashion that BYU loses this one. And Oregon got dropped out of the top 25.
Yeah, that was true.
I just think that you're kind of sparing BYU by even leaving them in the top 25. I mean, it just wasn't a good game for BYU.
That's fair. I put BYU ahead still of Florida. Because one, Anthony Richardson really hasn't been that impressive to me. I mean, he has 0 touchdown passes on the year, I believe. Still, let me check that. Let me fact check that. But
He's
I've
got a
heard
bunch of
that
rushing touchdowns.
he's got rushing touchdowns. I know that, but he ain't got no passing touchdowns.
Yeah, but he's
And
in.
I mean, they snuck one. Florida hardly snuck one out against USF. I mean, that's not impressive. Florida has an impressive win against Utah, I will say though, and but BYU also has that impressive Baylor win. So it's kind of they kind of weigh each other out with that. But Anthony Richardson going 10 for 18 with 112 yards and 2 interceptions against USF is not what you want to see from a quarterback, especially with the nickname that he's already earned, AR-15. Especially a quarterback at Florida wearing number 15. They Tim Tebow. There you go. That's one of the best college football quarterbacks there. Kind of a little disrespectful to the number to play like that, but excuse me. Obviously, he's not trying to be bad. I mean, if you're trying to be bad, you should not be on a college football team. But his struggles definitely are showing, and that's not good for Florida. I think he will find a way to step it up. Hardly beating USF just. I mean, they won. They scored a scored a touchdown with about 5 minutes left to take the lead and kind of shut it down. That's why I put BYU out of Florida. Just BYU's kind of, although they did get dominated, just not as like I'm more higher on BYU. They always find a way to come back into the rankings.
Okay. Yeah, so I had Florida at 19. Obviously, the only reason that they won this one was because Montreal John decided to be the hero and big 62-yard touchdown. But other than that, I mean, it was Florida's defense that kind of carried them to victory. And Anthony Richardson, AR-15, I have him kind of as like a sleeper Heisman, candidate. And I think that, that just didn't show today. Or sorry, on Saturday. But I think that Florida bounces back, like next week.
Who do they have next week? Do you know?
They
They
play.
have Tennessee. Oh, that's a tough game. They got Tennessee in Tennessee. If they bounce back next week, beat Tennessee, that'd be huge for them. Kind of help them say, "Hey, we're still here, even though we struggled with USF, we're still here." And then we'll get to the next one. We're gonna do these next 3. 16. We're gonna do 18, 16, 17, 16, and 18. We have Baylor. In 17, we have Washington. In 16, we have Ole Miss. And now with Baylor at 18, I think that most of you guys, I think you two both ranked. No. Yeah, sorry, I'm right. You guys both ranked Baylor above BYU. I didn't, only because BYU lost to Baylor. BYU beat Baylor. But you guys has kind of forced them up higher into the number 18 spot. Is there a bigger reason as to why?
No, not really. I mean, Blake Shapen looked good, 15 to 26. Richard Reese averaged 8.5, on 3 touchdowns. I mean, it was just Baylor. It was just a Baylor beating of the Texas State Bobcats. And I mean, I believe they stayed. Where were they ranked last week?
Last week they were ranked 17, and now they are
They're 17.
Still 17. They did not move.
Yeah, I think that's fair because they beat, Texas State. Obviously, nobody knows or cares about Texas State, but when you play those like D2, D3 school or D2, D1 schools, am I saying that right? I always get that
They're an
mixed up.
FCS school, I believe. No, they're
Yeah.
in the Sun Belt Conference, I think, or
Well,
an FCS.
anyways,
I don't remember.
when you play a generally weaker team, you expect to beat them like Baylor did, and that's exactly what Baylor did. And so I think that it's fair that Baylor stays at 17.
I would agree with you on that. However, as I said, I did put them behind BYU in my list just because of BYU's head to head. Do I think Baylor's probably the better team? Yeah. But just the head to head is a big thing for me. And then, Michael, you got anything?
I mean, not really that much about Baylor. Baylor, they've always been a good football team, but they haven't been like, exceptional. They've always kind of been like middle of the road team. They do good in some games, they do bad in others, and that's really about it. They have a chance to make it big, or they have a chance to, you know, lose. That's really it.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean they've got some challenges coming up in 2 weeks. They play Oklahoma State, so
Oklahoma State. They're good.
that could be a tragedy for them. And
That's it.
moving on to the next team, and this 17 was Washington. Washington was 26 points. Baylor was 24 points in our ranking. Washington is 3-0 with a pretty big statement win against Michigan State. Other than that, beating Kent State by 25 week one, and then Portland State by 46. I'm high on Washington. I like Washington. I've always have. My dark horse candidate is Michael Penix Jr. He is doing incredible. We'll talk about him a little later. Me and Cam are going to go over little Heisman finals picks, and they showed promise. In my opinion, not as good as usual Pac-12. Obviously, Oregon's in the Pac-12 and Utah's in the Pac-12, but there's not very many teams other than Washington now too. Yeah, it makes it a 3-man race. Oh, and USC. I can't forget about USC. That's a four horse
Yeah.
race in the Pac-12, and it seems like it's almost like that every year. And it's good to see Washington back in it. 3-0 is obvious. Obviously, they got Stanford next week, and then UCLA the week after that. Now, if I look back, I think that most of us put Washington ahead of Baylor. Besides Cam, you put Baylor ahead of Washington.
Like I said, Baylor is at the 17 spot. I just think, Baylor, they did their thing on Saturday. Washington, obviously, with the more impressive win. However, Washington going from, you know, outside of the top 25 to inside the top 25, I just can't put them up that far. It just doesn't seem, really fair, regardless of beating a top, 15 team overall.
Okay. Okay, I understand that. Michael, we ranked them in the same spot. We both put them at, if I can recall, we both put them at
17.
17. Yep. So, thank you. And then obviously Cameron put them at 16, 18. Uh, but we all have different opinions. I mean, Cam, you brought up a great point there. And going on to the next, so we're gonna skip on to the next one. 16, we put Ole Miss. Ole Miss had 34 total points out of the point system. I think all of us put Ole Miss generally kind of decently ahead of the other two teams. Cam, I know you put them, I believe, at 15. Michael, you put them a decent amount up there, and
Put them at 13.
I had them actually at, I think, 16 is where they are.
Yeah, I had
Um,
Mississippi at 13.
You get them at 13. Yeah, Cameron, I think I had 15. No, not 15.
I had Ole Miss at 15,
You did have them at 15, and I had them at 16.
and they're ranked 20th on AP,
They are
and
no, they
I
are now ranked 16th. They
quite
have
frankly,
moved up four.
I don't agree with that. Quite frankly, I think that Ole Miss,
I mean, they had a
I
promising
think,
win against Georgia Tech, dominating, but Georgia Tech isn't that great of a football program, so I can understand what you're saying.
yeah,
Ooh.
I think that Ole Miss, in the fashion that they win, though, with Jackson Dart absolutely balling out. Yeah, I mean, no touchdowns, but that's all right. Um, Ole Miss 42 nothing. I mean, a shutout win against a divisional opponent. Or no, they're not a divisional opponent. I forgot that Georgia Tech is in the ACC. Just a 42-0 win. I mean, yeah, I don't really have anything else. Just kind of like the whole Baylor situation. Just do your job as the high-ranked team, the better team. Get your big win and then get out. And I'm pretty sure that they've got a pretty big game coming up here next week against. Let me look real quick. They are up against Kentucky. No,
Okay, that's big. That's
Tulsa.
a big one,
Kentucky's
but
the next one. My timing was wrong, but against Kentucky is the big one here in a couple weeks, and then another big one against Arkansas later in the year, and Alabama. Yeah, I mean, so Ole Miss has got a really tough schedule coming up, and with that being said, I don't think that this team will be ranked come the end of the year. Every single one of their opponents in the next for the rest of the season is above 500 or 3-0.
that's
I
really
guess
bold. That's actually
I
really
guess
bold.
I guess that's what you get for wanting to be an SEC team.
I wouldn't say they're not going to be unranked. I think they will. I think they will. I think they will be ranked. Lane Kiffin's is just a good coach. I mean, they got Zach Evans, a transfer from TCU. Go Frogs. And then obviously, as you said, Jackson Dart, transfer from I believe USC. Lane Kiffin's a great coach in my opinion. I obviously you did say they're playing a lot of great teams in the upcoming future, which will be a little bit of a struggle for them. We'll really see if they're that truly that team or if they're just some middle tier SEC school. Moving on to number 15, 14, and 13. We have 15 Utah, 14 Oregon, and 13 is tied between North Carolina State and Oregon at 38, and then Utah has 37. We're going to start with Utah. Utah, 2-1 on the year. The lost to Florida early in the season. I believe that Michael might have ranked him the highest, Cam. Yeah, you ranked him the highest. I ranked him the lowest. Michael, you ranked him a little bit in the middle. Yeah,
You said Utah?
I mean Utah. Yes, Utah. You ranked him the highest out of all of us, I think.
Yeah, so I had Utah ranked at 13th. Utah.
Yes.
So Utah ranked 13th, dominating win 35-7 over San Diego State. Cameron Rising 18 for 30, looked good. He had 4 touchdowns with no interceptions. I mean, just the usual, going in, doing your thing against a team that is obviously worse than you. Or I guess, yeah, there's no better way to say it. And then kind of a defensively dominated game. I believe they had 3 quarterback hits and then 3 pressures. I mean, Utah, they look good, they play good, they're 2-1. I mean, cut out that one loss in that really close game, and they're 3-0, and I think that they would be favorites to be in the college football playoff, but that loss kind of set them back. So unfortunately, I don't think the Utes will miss. I do think the Utes will miss the playoff.
Yeah, you got to look at them. They're a team last year that lost to Ohio State in the Rose Bowl. They were 4 points away. They were a win against Florida away from still being ranked in the top 10 nationally. You think they came into the season at 7. Put them at 3-0 with a win against a ranked team in Florida. They would still be around 7-6. And they're a very good squad. I think it was a little bit of week 1 jitters for them too. Obviously, they played, I think, Southern Utah. And kick the shit out of them. That's a given. It's Southern Utah. It's a bad FCS school, I believe. They are FCS, and then San Diego State, as you said. But the Utes, they are a good team. I mean, the Utes are a team to definitely look at throughout the year, because they've got some dogs. I mean, I love their quarterback. I love Rising, especially from last year, and don't be surprised if they find a way to win the Pac-12. I mean, they've dominated Oregon in the past couple years in the regular season and in the Pac-12 championship.
Mm-hmm.
So I would not be surprised if they do.
Do you
Michael, you got
think
anything?
do you think that if Utah wins out and they win the Pac-12, do you think that they land a spot in the CFP?
They could. Depends. Michael, you
Michael?
got anything about the Utes?
Personally, this may be a bit of a hot take, but I don't see the Utes going anywhere in this game for the rest of the season. I'm gonna hold on. Let me look at their schedule really quick. I mean, they don't go against like expert teams, but like they're going against decent teams, and I think that they're going to be having a run for their money. And to be honest, I don't see them going that far. I don't have trust in the Utes. That's why I rank them so low at 16.
Okay, I could. That's fair. I can get kind of get behind that. And then, as I said, 14 was Oregon. The Ducks, terrible, terrible, terrible in week one. That was gross. It was so gross. But as we do know now, Georgia is the number one team in the nation. Georgia, in my opinion, is the best team in the nation. Easily the best team in the nation. They just dominate everybody. So that 49-3 win, it was very terrible. Bo Nix played awful. Obviously, they've bounced back in the past two wins against a pretty good SES program, Eastern Washington 70-14, and then dominating number 12 BYU, which they were number 12 last week. And now they are. Now Oregon is 15th in the AP. Utah is 13th. I didn't mention that. Just kind of I think they're kind of a situation of the high-powered offense that Oregon tries to always have, trying to come back again with Bo Nix, the transfer from Auburn. Cam, you got anything?
Yeah, I mean, Bo Nix looked great in this game. It wasn't really a game, as I said. BYU got a couple of late touchdowns that made it look like it was a game, but all around, Bo Nix just terrorizes the freaking BYU defense. And I mean, that's really all that I can say. They kind of swap places in the rankings, which is kind of what I feel was supposed to be expected after what Bo Nix did to that defense.
Yeah, I mean, he had 5 total touchdowns against BYU's defense, and BYU's defense usually isn't giving up 5 total touchdowns to a quarterback. Okay. We're going to be moving on now to 13, which we had North Carolina State. They are ranked 12th in the AP poll. We have them at 13 with alongside of Oregon. Most of us kind of put North Carolina State in that same. I mean, Michael, I think you put them a little lower. You put them at 15.
Yeah.
Cameron, you put them at 12, and I put them all at 13. So I kind of evened them out at 13. I like the Wolfpack. They're a good team. A little bit of I'd say it's a quality win against Texas Tech. I wouldn't say it's a great win. I mean, they hardly snuck one out the first week against ECU, which is really not their choice in their control. It was ECU's control. Their kicker missed 2 an extra point to tie it and a field goal to win it.
Yeah.
So, but I like the Wolfpack. They're always competitive in the ACC. I'm hoping. I'm ready to see how they do against Clemson on the 1st of October. That'll be a great game to see, especially it's in South Carolina. It's in the Death Valley. I mean, Clemson, and we'll talk about them later, but I could see NC State upsetting them.
Yeah. No,
Also,
I totally agree.
one thing I do want to say is there is a big disappointment for me because I really love Texas Tech as a school and as a football team and any sport related. It's disappointing to see that they're not really living up to what they should be this year. Like I thought that this year they looked like that they had a solid team and they're 2-1. They barely snuck past Houston and they
You're talking about Tech here?
yeah, Texas Tech.
Okay. Yeah.
I felt that they had a chance this year, and I mean they barely snuck past Houston. Like I said, they beat the crap out of Murray State, and then they lost by like 2 or 3 possessions to State.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, NC State, you know, Devin Leary goes 15 of 13. I mean, Thayer Thomas had one throw, 38 yards for a freaking score. Oh God, we are 15 minutes in. But I mean, NC State looked good. They had a commanding lead. You've got 3 teams in the ACC now that are 3-0. Or yeah, that's right. That's right, right? Clemson lost week 1.
Clemson is 3-0.
Oh,
They're
that's right. Yeah.
it's
So you
ranked.
got 3 SEC or 3 ACC teams now 3-0. I think that that's definitely a division to watch because I think that that's another division where you could see the winner of that division or conference rather, filling up a spot in the playoff, which is going to get expanded to 8 teams soon, thankfully, because
12 teams.
4 teams or 12 teams. That's right, because 4 teams kind of sucks.
It does kind of suck not getting to see as many teams represent themselves.
Exactly.
We're going to move on. We're going to do 12 and 11 now. So then we can get into the well-awaited top 10. At 12, we have Penn State with total of, I am sorry. I didn't just realize Penn State, North Carolina State, and Oregon were all tied for 12th place with 38 points. Tennessee is in 11th, however, with 44.
Okay.
I like Penn State honestly higher than those other teams.
I had Penn State
Maybe
lower.
not. I don't think so. I think I put Penn State at 14 where they were in the AP poll.
I put Penn
Ken,
State.
you also put them at 14, and Michael,
Mm-hmm.
you put them at 12. So to see that they fell at 12 and 2 of us had them at 14 is kind of interesting. But what are your thoughts on Penn State? I mean, they're undefeated right now, I believe. Yeah, with a pretty promising and dominant win against Brian Harsin in Auburn. They had that great game against Purdue in week 1. You guys got anything about Penn State?
Yeah, I mean, Penn State's defense, excuse me, Penn State's defense looked very
Yeah.
dominant against Auburn on Saturday. Only giving up 12 points. You saw the devastating hit on TJ Finley. It was kind of
Oh,
all, or sorry, I have it mixed up. The devastating hit was on Sean Clifford. Whoops. But anyways, Penn State crushing Auburn on the road. I think that they're a team that, are on the rise. Could be contenders in the Big 12. But their AP ranked them 22nd. I think that's a little disrespectful.
that was last week. Actually, they were 22nd last week.
What are they this week?
They moved up 8. They
They're
were 14 this week,
Okay, that's about right.
and that's exactly where we ranked them, Cameron.
Yeah.
I think they're in the right spot at 14. Obviously, they're 3-0 with a pretty dominant win last week, but they really haven't. I want to see them prove more. They play, Central Michigan next week, and then in 3 weeks they play, or actually in a month they play Michigan. So I would love to see that. That's when they can kind of try and prove themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Michael, you had them at 12. Do you have a reason for that?
Yeah, I mean the reason I have them at 12 is because they were dominating against Auburn and Ohio, and that pretty
Ohio.
amazing win over Purdue. That
Ohio.
I feel like that they deserved it.
You feel like they deserve the 12th
Deserved
spot?
it.
Is that what you're saying? You feel like they deserve the 12?
Yeah, I feel like they deserve to be ranked 12 because it's just they were the 3-0 and they had pretty good wins. Like they haven't had that bad of slip ups at all. I mean, obviously some teams have bad mistakes, but they recover and you know, they come through in the end and they win.
Yeah. Ooh, sorry, logging in here.
Oh, it looks like something is going on with Bryce.
Uh-oh. Is he... Oh. He just lagged out. Guys,
Hello.
are we really gonna be able to use this? Bryce can edit this out, right? Can he edit this part out?
Bryce.
I feel like
Yeah, what's going on?
Michael and I
Hello.
sound like we have no idea what the fuck we're talking about.
That's funny. I had a little bit of technical difficulties there for a second. That's all right. Anyways, we go
Cameron,
rock
bro.
cut. The people gonna see y'all don't know what you're talking about.
No, dude, fuck.
Yes,
I don't want the
I'm just.
people to see that I don't know what the fuck I'm talking
It's
about.
okay. It's okay. Moving on to
Cameron
number
knows what I'm
11.
talking about.
No,
Number 11.
no,
Tennessee,
no.
44 points. The Volunteers.
Volunteers.
They've had pretty good wins. I mean, a big win against Pitt last 2 weeks ago. But they haven't really played anybody good. I think 11's good for them. They've got a good, solid team around them. SEC school.
Here, you know what?
That's really all I got to say.
Since I don't know what I'm talking about with college, because I didn't watch the last games this week. I know games prior. Tennessee, they're good. I had them ranked 16th, because they did beat Pitt. But like, the only thing I had to say about Tennessee is they're good.
They're
Their
good.
secondary is also not that good though. But other than that, they're
Wait,
pretty good.
Cameron, what did you have Tennessee ranked down?
16.
Yeah,
Michael had
Dan.
him at
See,
8.
that's the one part I don't agree. I think Tennessee, they're amazing contenders this year. I mean, they've dominated again every single game. They beat Pittsburgh. That was really the only, good team they went against, and they won by one possession. But in the other two games, they absolutely dominated. 59-10 in the first week, and then last week they won 63-6. Like they're dominating fully.
Your
I truly
numbers,
believe that Tennessee has
your
a
numbers,
chance. What?
your numbers and data don't mean shit to me anymore, Michael.
Uh,
I just think that Tennessee is not that good because I think that Ole Miss and Oregon are better than them. So your numbers don't mean shit to me no more.
well, that'll be proven wrong when they make it.
To the playoffs.
Hmm They're gonna make it.
Tennessee. You think Tennessee is gonna make the playoffs?
I think Tennessee has a chance to win it all.
Whoa, 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 whoa. What did I just hear you say?
Tennessee, I mean, they're doing amazing. They're doing good this year. I mean, maybe that's just a really hot take currently, but if they keep playing good and they keep playing the way that they've played the past three games, I see them possibly making it to the championship or semifinal and
Okay, well,
making
they
it
got a
all
lot
the
of
way up
teams.
there.
They got a lot of SEC schools pass. We're gonna
Yeah,
move
they
on.
go against
Good.
Florida and then Bama, and then they go against
Okay.
a lot of schools. Yeah.
Yes. All right. Well, we're gonna move on. I had him at 10, just to point that out. Cameron kind of dragged him down with the 16 rank. The number 10 spot, we have, excuse me, Arkansas.
Arkansas.
Michael, you put them at 11. Cameron, you
hmm
put them at 9, and I put Arkansas at 11 as well. The reason I put Arkansas below Tennessee is Arkansas. They beat. I don't even remember who they played. They only beat them by 11. They played Missouri State and beat Missouri State by 11. That is not something you want to see from a top 10 nationally ranked team. Yes,
Nope.
they beat South Carolina by 14, and yes, they beat Cincinnati to start the season. I think the big thing for them is they've got two big statement games coming up against A&M, as we pointed out earlier, and then at Bama the next week. I like Arkansas though. I hope to see them good, but they've really only had one pretty decent win, and to have them all the way at 10 is just showing something.
Yeah, I mean, Raheem Sanders, 22 carries for 167 yards. Long at 43. Wasn't a really pretty game from Arkansas. who even are the Missouri State Bears. I guess props to them for coming because they came into Arkansas, right?
Missouri State, I think.
Yeah, they did. Coming into Arkansas, one of the most hostile environments, and putting up a fight against Arkansas. Obviously, I mean, it wasn't really it wasn't that close of a game, or I mean, actually no, it was.
It was a
I'm
close game.
lied. It was a close game. Arkansas actually had to come back to win it
Yes.
because yeah, no, I mean, I mean they still won, so I still have them at 10 or 9.
Okay. We'll go to number 9. In ours, we have the Kentucky Wildcats, who are ranked 8th in the AP poll. I love seeing Kentucky up here. I mean, they're a basketball school, and they're 3-0 and number 8th ranked nationally in football. It's like seeing you look at the rankings right now, and you be like you think that you're looking at the basketball rankings. Sometimes you're like, what the heck is Kentucky doing at 8? What the heck is Tennessee doing at 11? Um, but they had that big win against Florida in Gainesville, by 10. They really haven't played anybody else. Still won by a promising amount. They play Ole Miss in 2 weeks. I love to see that game. They've got their SEC stretch. I mean, they're an SEC school. The only hard team they have to play is towards the end of the year. They play Georgia. That's a hard team. I love seeing Kentucky thrive. I hopefully will love to see them in a New Year's Six bowl game. You got any thoughts on Kentucky? I know before actually that we're gonna look at it. Michael put them at 10. Cam, you also put them at 10, and I put them at 9.
I mean, the win over Florida kind of sells it for me. Kentucky's got a really good program, a really good defense, and they've got really cool jerseys.
They do got cool jerseys. I will give you that. I like their jerseys. Michael, you got anything on Kentucky?
Basketball.
Okay. 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 That's okay. Hopefully they don't take any. Hopefully they don't take any advice from the basketball team and lose to a team that's like St. Peter's caliber. But
Oh my god. Why is
going
that so
7.
funny?
We're gonna go 8-7-6. A little quick fire round. Bang bang bang. Because we are getting a
Basketball.
little hefty on time. 8. We have
Yeah,
USC.
Wow.
we've been sitting here wasting people's time. Like if you're still
Nah, dude,
listening at this
we're not
point,
wasting time.
if you're still listening, props to you,
Props to
man.
you guys. I appreciate
How
it.
much how much time do you have on your hands?
If
Like
you're
what?
still listening, I will personally probably do nothing. But I just
Yeah, I
want to say
know.
that.
Yeah, this is the rare. This is the rare. If you're still
What?
listening, just text Tello Talk on Instagram,
And
and
I will, someone will
we'll give
bring
you a
it back.
$20. We'll give you a $20
No,
Apple
no,
Podcast
no,
card.
No,
no. That's not true.
stop.
That's not
No,
true.
that's
Don't
not
listen
true.
to that.
That's not true. Someone from Tello Talk will DM you just saying hi.
Yep.
There's only one person a part of in the
There's only one
Teletalk
person on
account, so
Tello
it's
Talk.
Yeah, he will DM you saying hi.
Oh, yeah. Well, USC, Cameron, you had him at Michael had him at 9. Cameron, you had him at
Yours.
7, and I had him at 8.
The USD
Which
map
puts him
is
in the 8th
real.
spot. I like USC. I mean, they've had good wins against every team. They play Oregon State soon.
Mhm.
I'm hoping to see Oregon State put up a fight though. Caleb Williams, a Heisman candidate for me. Jordan Addison, another Heisman candidate, won the Bolitnikoff Award last year at Pitt. This team's just stacked. Lincoln Riley's the coach. They're my Pac-12 favorite, even though they are moving to the Big Ten in a couple years, which is a little weird to think about it still.
Hey,
US,
Boise State. Boise State's gonna move into the Pac-12, so that's cool.
but
Man, you
Boise
gotta think
State's
about it locally.
Boise State's trash.
U of I ain't going nowhere though. Like,
We'll stay. We'll gladly stay in the Big Sky.
where you play against Eastern Oregon.
Eastern
Wow.
Washington. Eastern Oregon is an NAIA school.
Oh,
Wow.
Number 7, Oklahoma State with 56 points. I like the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Even though they haven't really handled their teams the way I thought they would, especially with the Central Michigan game, only winning by 14. They're the Oklahoma State Cowboys. They're always good. They're a Big 12 school. Their offense is always going to be pretty dominant. Their defense usually is better in the Big 12, but hasn't really shown it. Didn't really show it in the first game. Showed it more in the last two games. Going on to our list, Michael put them at 7. Cameron put them at 8. I put them at 7. So that put them at the 7 spot.
Or I mean, Oklahoma. Yeah, that's right. Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State. They beat Boise State in the first game of the year,
They did
or
not.
the third game
That was last year.
there.
That was
Last year. Last year. I know I'm
It's
talking
all
about
good.
last
It's
year.
all good.
And I went to that game, and the refs sold that game so hard for Boise State.
That's
And I
last
was
year.
sitting in the stands with my
That's
friends,
in the past.
and that started
That's in
the
the past.
Oklahoma State rise.
Boise is in the state.
And
I'm just messing with you. I'm just messing with you. I gotta be tried and
He's
true to the
hurt.
Vandals up here, man.
tried and true to the scandals.
To the Vandals. We beat Drake
Vandals.
42 to 14
Drake?
this past weekend. Had a little bit of a sloppy first half, only up by 6 at halftime. 22 unanswered in the second half. I just had to point that out.
That's because you're freaking your Cooper Cup receiver, your 3-star dude, your Cooper Cup receiver who's gonna blow up in the NFL and be a superstar.
That would be really cool to know
Didn't
to find out.
didn't have that many catches.
Yeah, the Vandals
in that
defense
game.
did great in the second half. I know we kind of caught off track from Oklahoma State, but I kind of wanted to point it out. I loved watching the Vandals this Saturday, their home opener. I'm excited for the rest of their season. They had a promising game against Washington State despite the loss, and a pretty promising game against Indiana despite a loss. They show that every team that they can compete with every team in the FCS. Obviously dominating Drake, even though Drake's in like Iowa or Ohio.
Drake's in Canada. What?
Not the rapper.
Drake? Dude, that's kind of goofy, bro.
What a goofy team name.
Yeah,
Of course,
he
the
was
Idaho
Drake.
Vandals. Of course, the Idaho Vandals would be playing Drake.
Oh, they're both in the FCS. Number 6. We got the Clemson Tigers.
Yeah.
Michael, you put them at 5.
Mm-hmm.
Cameron, you put them at 6, and I also put them at 6. Putting them at number 6 in our ranking. Clemson, their offense is definitely getting it going quicker than they did last year. But it took them a long time to get going against Georgia Tech. And seeing that after Ole Miss dominating Georgia Tech so quickly doesn't really make me excited. They got the game against Wake Forest next week, and then the week after that they got NC State. 2 kind of challenging games. I think they could be games that Clemson could possibly drop, depending on their performance. They're definitely a team to keep their eye on for the playoff race. But I just don't. Obviously they're a top 6 team, but I think they are 6.
Clemson's been a kind of a weird one for me because, whenever I've been watching football, right, it seems like they've always got some sort of sneaky little Thursday night, Friday night game. They kind of always seem to play before. They don't seem to have that many prime time games. They have their 1 or 2 a year, but Clemson always seems to be when I look them up, I'm like Clemson. I'm haven't heard of them in a while. Are they outside of the top 25? And then I look and they're 6th, and they kind of hang around there, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then they don't really move up or down. They just kind of chill in that range, and it's because they miss Trevor Lawrence. He misses Trevor Lawrence a lot. And now that he doesn't have Trevor Lawrence, he doesn't know what to do. He had the same problem with Deshaun in Trevor's first year or 2, and then Trevor became a superstar. So I think that, Dabo's kind of waiting on, I don't even know the quarterback's name, but they're just waiting on him to become a superstar, and then, Clemson will make that jump into the top 4 and contending with Bama and Georgia and USC, because USC should be ranked 3rd.
You're just saying that because you're a USC fan.
I think USC is the best team in the nation.
Whatever. We've got at 5. We got
I've,
um.
Wait,
I have,
Oklahoma.
before you say it,
I
before you
have
say
a
number 5,
bag.
Put in first.
I have a bag of
before you
lifesaver
before you
mints.
say number 5, I want to say something. I want to do something.
Continue about
I,
Clemson, Michael.
I have a bag of lifesaver mints. If you
Cameron,
guys
I'm not
want.
asking you. I'm asking Michael.
No, not about Clemson. I just wanted to do hold on.
Well, I'm gonna move on to 5, which is Oklahoma. Me and Cameron put him at 5.
Oklahoma.
Michael, you put him at
Michael
6.
had him at. Okay.
AP also has him at 6. I just think
Yeah.
Oklahoma's more impressive right now. They've had dominant wins throughout the entire year. I love seeing Oklahoma thrive, especially after Lincoln Riley and Caleb Williams left.
Tim, I'm not
Dylan
gonna lie. I
Gabriel,
tried to play a drum roll and it didn't work.
don't play a drum roll, please. Don't play a drum roll, please.
Play the drum roll, please.
You can do it for number 1 because everybody knows what's going to be, even though it's
No,
going to be
it didn't work.
Dylan Gabriel.
The
He's been
work.
showing pretty well. Okay, can I doing well?
No.
I love their new coach, the Clemson DC or OC, one of those. Oklahoma's always going to be a good team because they do great at recruiting. Don't be shocked if TCU drops them October 1st. That's all I got to say about Oklahoma.
TCU ain't doing shit.
You don't know that.
I do. It says on my list of future games that I planned with a wizard.
All right, let's get back on track here with the top 4. This was a consensus for all of us. The 4th pick, or actually no, Michael's was not. Michael put these at 3. Me and Cam put them at 4. It is the Michigan Wolverines.
Michigan Wolverines.
They haven't really played any good teams this year, but they're Michigan. Last year they did amazing. This year they're looking good. I think Harbaugh's a great coach. Finally starting to get his groove against better teams. I'm waiting to see when they play Penn State how they do.
I'm looking forward to Ohio State.
Oh, obviously Ohio State, but that's the last game of the season. See if they can extend that winning streak against them to 2. And so if the playoffs were to start right now, though, I don't think Michigan would be in the playoff, obviously, because if the rest of the season ended, Michigan wouldn't be in the playoffs because Ohio State would. And I think actually USC would be in the playoff. We're gonna quickly get to number 3, which is which is not the Ohio State Buckeyes. That is the AP. Number 3 in ours is Alabama. Now, Michael put them at 4. Cam, you put them at 3, and I put them at 2. Alabama, I put them there. They're always going to be a top 3 team because it's Alabama. A little struggle against Texas, which is kind of why they're behind Ohio State which is 2.
Mm-hmm.
But Bryce Young's a Heisman winner. He's a Heisman guy. Not as good as like notable receivers as there was last year. And then also they've got Will Anderson Jr. on the defensive side, who is arguably the best defensive player in college football. They got the greatest coach of all time in college football, and I actually really want to see this Arkansas game in 2 weeks because it could be an interesting one.
Yeah, I think that Bama. I mean, the only reason that they are ranked, behind Ohio State and Georgia is because of those close call games. You had the one last week at Texas. Barely winning that one with Quinn Ewers obviously out. And that's kind of just been the story about Bama. Bryce Young is a Heisman candidate. They haven't really had the same receivers, and then Will Anderson is going to be the first pick in the draft next year, and he's going to go to the Indianapolis Colts because Indiana this year.
Oh, okay. Interesting take there. Michael, got anything on Alabama before we head into number 2?
And fuck the Colts.
No, Alabama.
Okay. Number 2, Ohio State Buckeyes. Cameron, you put them at 2. Michael, you put them at 2. I put them at 3. That put them at the 2 slot with a total of 71 points out of 75 that you could earn. I just love Ohio State. They've got the best in one of the Heisman favorites in
My
CJ
computer
Stroud.
turned off. I can still
One of
hear
the best
you.
receivers with Jackson Smith and Jigba, and
Yo,
Jigba.
yo.
A promising win against
Jigba?
Notre Dame, although Notre Dame has not been very good.
Yeah.
But CJ Stroud, I mean, just been dominant. And then Trayvon Henderson as well, having him on the team makes it even better. But I mean, you could talk all day about how good Ohio State is. But everybody knows the consensus number one. It was our consensus number one with 75 of the 75 points that you can name
LSU.
is Georgia. Georgia,
Georgia.
number one, best team in the league, best team in the nation, sorry. Easily dominated Oregon, who is a top 15 team still. They actually, jokes on them, they only beat Stanford by 33. Not something, especially when you look at their other games, that you'd expect from Georgia. But I mean, they also kind of let up. And I mean, they've given up 10 points all year. They're always going to be a team with a dominant defense, a dominant offense. Stetson Bennett with his last year here, and Kirby Smart's an amazing coach. Stetson Bennett could be a Heisman winner. Georgia's just Georgia. Don't be surprised when they're in the playoff again.
Yeah, 100%. Georgia is just better, even though they lost their entire defense.
Yeah, they lost a lot of leaders with like Nakobe Dean and Jordan
You
Davis.
know who lost their entire defense in the third and fourth quarter of NFL games? The Raiders. Useless
Yeah, but we'll
team.
talk about them later.
They
Yeah, the
suck.
Raiders suck.
We're gonna talk about the Raiders a different day.
Imagine having Devontae Adams sucking.
Okay, well, Cam, we and you, we have our
What
Heisman
happened to Trey
winner
Lance?
picks.
Did Michael not do?
Michael did not do his
I
Heisman
don't
pick,
know. I don't know what Heisman is, bro.
and that's okay. And that's okay. Cam, we're just gonna talk about ours.
Okay,
I'm gonna go ahead and start. I'm gonna say Bryce Young is a candidate just because he's Bryce
100%.
Young. Caleb Williams, C.J. Stroud, and then Will Anderson Jr. With my dark horse being Michael Penix Jr. If Washington keeps it up, I think he'll win it.
Okay. I said my favorite person to win the Heisman. I think it's going to be Anthony Richardson. I think that he's a stud. I think that he's very good for Florida, and I think that they're going to utilize him better, in the coming weeks. And then I've got C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, and then I also put Stetson Bennett. I think
Okay.
that Stetson Bennett is. I mean, he's the best. He's the quarterback on the best team in the nation. I mean, surely he's got to get some sort of credit.
Okay.
And then my dark horse is Jordan Addison.
Oh,
Back-to-back
I like that.
receiver years. I mean, he's just been a stud so far this
Yeah.
year.
And he's got Caleb Williams throwing him the ball.
Exactly.
And he won the Blitnikoff Award last year. He's a great wide receiver.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
anyways,
Uh,
that's gonna finish this for now. Y'all got anything to say before I wrap it up myself?
we're gonna do an NFL podcast where I might actually know a
Dude.
few more things.
Yeah, so they're a little more knowledgeable in the NFL. They just wanted to hop on this with me. I appreciate them for hopping on with me, even though they may not know
Yeah,
as
I
much.
mean, I
I'm
don't
too
know too much
faded.
about
I'm
college
too
football.
fucking.
Obviously, about Heisman, I
I'm
don't
too
know that
faded.
much. I don't even know any
I'm
players
too
that
faded
much.
for this.
Okay. So, before we wrap this all up, I do want to point out the community vote that was R3 and then the two polls given to me by EBC Media.
Horse.
The
Sports.
shit EBC.
25 was Pitt, 24 was A&M, 23 was LSU, 22 was Texas, 21 was Wake Forest, 20 was BYU, 19 was Baylor, 18 was Florida, 17 Washington, 16 Utah, 15 Ole Miss, 14 NC State, 13 Oregon, 12 Penn State, 11 Tennessee, 10 Arkansas, 9 USC, 8 Kentucky, 7 Oklahoma State, 6 Oklahoma, 5 Clemson, 4 Michigan, 3 Ohio State, 2 Bama, 1 Georgia. Georgia
No.
actually was 1 point away from unanimously being number 1.
Okay,
But
but before you go off, I just want to say LSU again, same thing, good, and it's disappointing that They are not ranked. I want them to be ranked. They're my favorite college team
Who?
ever.
LSU.
LSU.
Who?
Yeah, you're funny, aren't you, pussy?
No. Who? NSU.
Hey guys, let's calm down. All right,
NSU.
let's keep the argument for after the podcast. All right.
NSU. What?
LSU,
LSU.
Oh shit.
Louisiana State.
LSU sucks though.
They don't suck.
But
They're
they're
doing well.
cold
All
this
right,
year.
all right.
You're right.
Um,
Keep it
all right.
as
Well,
PG
we're gonna wrap it up here.
That's not
Been a long
PG.
one. If you've stayed the entire time, props to you. I appreciate you a ton. I
I
know
love
No, he
you.
doesn't.
my fellow colleagues here got a little bit. It seems like they kind of get a little bored at the end,
Hostile.
and hostile at each
bored.
other. But that's just how we are, and we kind of just try to show our true selves on here. Really appreciate everybody for just kind of tuning in and keeping up with Tello Talk. Hope y'all all had a great one. I know Cameron and Michael are excited for our next one. I'm waiting on Cameron to submit his NFL stuff so I can get that situated. And I'm excited. I'm
49ers
ready
are a
for the
top
next
10
one,
team.
and I really appreciate it. I'm ready for the college football season. We'll definitely come back later in the year, me and Cam at least, maybe Michael if he wants to as well, and talk about our Heisman things and what we said. So yeah, hope everybody enjoyed that, watched it. Appreciate all the love and support I've been getting recently, and comment down below what you'd like to hear from us. Comment your Heisman pick winners, your number one team, whatever you want to do. Even if this does get on YouTube, because this is going to be audio only. And that's all for me. Yeah, I think it's gonna be a peace out for us tonight. Have a
Peace.
great rest of your night.
Yo.
Adios, cumpleaños, cabre.
Later.